Alright, so back in mid to late September, we had an announcement that kind of sort of rocked the internet in a not so huge way. We had an announcement that we were going to get a Gotham TV show. At the time, the announcement was leading everyone to believe that this was going to focus heavily on the Gotham City Police Department, and more specifically, a young Jim Gordon at the beginning of his career or near the beginning of his career. I made a video about this. You can go check that video out if you want to. Now it seems like this news is outdated and we have an update on this television show. Instead of it focusing on young Jim Gordon, it seems like this is going to be about Bruce Wayne himself, and it seems like they are going to make the show more along the lines of Smallville than anything else. The latest update, I read about this on Newsarama, and I will go ahead and link to that at the bottom of this video. The latest update says that the show will start with Bruce Wayne when he is 12, and it will end with him putting on the Batman costume. That right there sounds very similar to Smallville, where we did not even get to see Superman in a costume at all, and we got to see the Superman costume in the last season. But the amount of build-up that we had for 9 years expecting to see this thing happen, and then it ended up not really happening at all, that was kind of a problem, but that was not by far the biggest problem with Smallville. So anyway, it definitely seems like they are trying to make this be along the same lines as Smallville. Now, I have historically said that I did not like Smallville. In fact, I really hated Smallville. But on paper, the premise sounds like something that could work. In the comic books, you have Superboy comics and you have Superman comics. So the idea of transitioning from Superboy to Superman over the course of a somewhat lengthy television show, that is something that could have worked. Admittedly, they drug it out really long. They did not need a 10-year show for this premise, and also they didn't really transition in the way that they should have, but that is neither here nor there. The point is, on paper, Smallville could have worked. I don't think on paper a young Bruce Wayne show really could work. It's possible that in the first episode, in the first 15 minutes, we will see the murder of the Waynes and young Bruce Wayne is crying, and then Alfred is going to comfort him. And then maybe we jump forward to his early 20s where he is training. I guess that could work. I don't see any way that we can have a 12-year-old Bruce Wayne as a protagonist. The only way that I can see this working is if 12-year-old Bruce Wayne is in flashbacks, and even then, I would want the flashbacks to be very minimal, because I just don't think there is that much of a story to tell about 12-year-old Bruce Wayne, and so I really wouldn't want to see that many flashbacks about him. Now, ideally, if an executive from Warner Brothers came up to me and said, "We are going to make a Batman TV show, how are we going to do it?" I would say, spend the entire first season with Bruce Wayne in his early 20s training. You could use Ra's al Ghul if you wanted to, but I would say avoid that just so that you don't have nearly as many people comparing this show to Batman Begins. I would use characters like Bronze Tiger or Richard Dragon, characters who are known for using the martial arts in the DC universe. Have them train Bruce Wayne. Have some kind of big threat happen wherever Bruce Wayne is training. Let's say that he's training in Nanda Parbat. Have a big threat happen where a lot of lives are at stake, and Bruce Wayne ends up saving the day somehow, but he is nowhere near being the fully realized Batman that we are expecting him to be. Then end the season with Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham. Then you could have an entire year of Bruce Wayne slowly building the identity of Batman. This would be where you would really want to draw heavily from both year one, the storyline from the comics, and also Batman Begins. You could show him slowly gathering a group of allies in the form of young Lieutenant Gordon, young Assistant DA Harvey Dent. You could probably draw heavily from Batman Earth 1, where Alfred is much more of a military guy than he is a butler, and he could definitely be helping Bruce along his way to becoming Batman. The point is, if it was up to me, I would not be ending the series with Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. I really think this idea of superheroes are air quotes dorky, so we really don't want to focus too heavily on that aspect of a superhero in television, so let's instead focus completely on their real life and stuff. That is an outdated idea. It might have worked really well for Smallville in the first couple of years. If you go back and look at the first couple of years of Smallville, it's a lot more similar to the OC or One Tree Hill than it is actual Superman. Nowadays, when you have movies like The Dark Knight Rises or The Avengers that make $1 billion, it no longer makes any kind of sense to try and shy away from the superhero elements in these stories outside of comic books. Anyway, getting back to what I would personally rather see happen in a Batman show, you could have Season 1 be him training, Season 2 him coming back to Gotham trying to become Batman. Season 2, he is more or less Batman, and at this point you would start focusing heavily on the supervillains, characters like the Joker, the Riddler, Catwoman. Season 2 would be more about the gangsters, characters like Carmine Falcone, the Bertinelli family. You could kill the Bertinellis, and then you would have Helena Bertinelli as a child. That would be a nice little shout out to fans of the comics. And then you could have Season 3 be where the supervillains are kind of influenced by the theatricality of Batman. This would be another thing where you're kind of drawing heavily from the Christopher Nolan movies, where the supervillains didn't really start appearing until Batman appeared. And also this is from the comics as well. In Batman Year One and The Long Halloween, they touch heavily on this idea as well. Another problem that we have is that we already have a Batman television show, and it is called Arrow. I talked a little bit about this in my review of Season 1 of Arrow, and I am not the only person to mention this. The Arrow television show is heavily influenced on the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. There is a lot from that television show that really draws from Batman, to the point where, spoiler, Ra's al Ghul is seemingly the big bad villain of Season 2. So keeping that in mind, I'm not really sure what the appeal is to doing a Batman show when we've basically already got a Batman show in everything but name only. But I feel like if you did it the way I talked about, that would probably be the best way to do a Batman show, and you could kind of sort of keep it different than Arrow and still keep doing Arrow and also do your Batman show. Now, as I mentioned, this TV show, if it was up to me, would heavily draw from a lot of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. It would not be set in that world, but it would straight up take a lot of plot elements from those movies, because at least 2/3 of that trilogy really worked well, and I think it could really work well in a TV show setting as well. This would not be entirely unheard of, straight up basing a TV show on a series of movies. Like I said, Arrow is very much based on Batman Begins and a little bit of The Dark Knight. You've also got movies like Eraser starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. In the late 90s, there were plans to make that into a TV show, but instead of making that, they decided to go with Smallville. Fun little fact. You've also got movies from the 70s and 80s like Logan's Run and Planet of the Apes. Both of those movies later got their own TV show. The Terminator is a very large film franchise and even had its own spin-off TV show that's kind of sort of different because it ended up sort of contradicting a few of the movies. The point is, if you wanted to do this show and just straight up base it on Batman Begins, I think that would work out very well. There is a precedent for that sort of thing. A lot of people are saying that this TV show might be a prequel to the Batfleck that we are going to be getting in the Man of Steel sequel. I'm not really sure if this is going to be a thing. I have trouble believing that DC, even Warner Brothers, has enough foresight to do a TV show right now and then let it build into the movieverse. I feel like if they did a TV show, it would heavily contradict the movies, and then you might as well not even have the TV show be in the same universe as the movies. But there have been a few TV shows that went on and then later went into a movie. For example, Firefly led into the Serenity movie. Batman the Animated Series had one theatrical movie and a few direct-to-TV movies. Veronica Mars is going to get a movie. Arrested Development maybe will get a movie. So this too also sort of has a precedent, a TV show then building into a movie. But as far as I know, there has never been an example where a movie is being planned and then simultaneously a TV show is being planned, and then there are plans to say that the TV show is a prequel to the movie. I don't think that has ever been done, and like I said, I just don't think that DC is a company that is competent enough to make that happen and make it work. But I'm willing to be surprised, and if it ends up happening, I am very willing to eat my own words. That's really about all I have to say here. I mainly wanted to take this opportunity to kind of do an update to what is going on with the Gotham TV show, what it now appears is going to be happening in that TV show, the new plans that they have. I myself am not as excited. I don't think that Smallville for Batman can work very well, but if they turned around and did something exactly like what I talked about in this video, I would have loved that very much. So we'll see what happens. I know several people have been commenting on the article that I read that this sounds similar to a TV show that Paul Dini talked about with Kevin Smith on the Fat Man on Batman podcast. So I need to go listen to that podcast and see what these people are talking about, because at the moment I can't speak to that one way or the other. If Paul Dini was involved with this show, which at the moment, let me go ahead and say I don't believe that is the case. I don't think he's involved with it. But if he was, I would be much more at ease. I think he would be the one person who could make me rest easy a little bit, make this show kind of work, because he was heavily involved with Batman the Animated Series, which for the most part was a fantastic adaptation of Batman. So if Paul Dini was involved, I would probably be a little bit more okay with whatever they did, at least until I got to see what it was that they did. So that's all I have to say here. I hope this video was enjoyable for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like my idea for what they should do with a Batman TV show? If you like the ideas that you've heard from the Newsarama article that I will be linking to below, let me know that in the comments below also. I also encourage you to like, share, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with some other kind of video. So until then, I'll catch you guys later. Have a great day.